This is so cool.
Hi, Ania. You're very
Hi,
honoured
Kitty.
because you've got the love of my life, Idris, is joining us today. Wise Idris from Romania. How are you? You look so beautiful with your flowers behind you and everything, and it's gorgeous.
Thank you. It helps, I know. I
It's
live in a very small space, and I always feel like, you know what, you need to bring some beauty and some nature. And I love those flowers. I love those, I was never into like those lilies, but a
yeah,
few months ago I started, and I just think and they last for a long time. So I love flowers, but thank you.
I
My
love.
backup.
I can't have lilies anymore because the stamens are poisonous to cats and dogs.
Oh,
So
I
I
didn't.
have to be really careful which flowers I have in the house, but I've got lots of green plants. So yeah, behind me you can't really see, but on the table.
I see, and I see some like a salt lamp.
Yes, I've got my salt lamp and I've got two huge great aloe vera plants, and I've been starting planting my vegetables today, some for the guinea pigs, some for the dog, some for me, some for the cats. It's been great. So but today I really wanted to talk to you. Oh, it's a bit too much light. Your amazing book
Thank you, Catherine. Oh my gosh, like I can't believe you even bought this book and it's in
coming
UK.
south. I could not put this book down, Anya, and I've got some questions to ask you about it, if that's okay.
I think I will be crying again this time because this is another personal thing.
It's really, really personal. And the main thing that hit me, I was completely blown away because obviously it's so special when you know the author, but what hit me is I've never read a book that's been so authentic and so honest.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much.
How
Thank you.
did it feel to you writing that?
The whole process, let's start like how I even came to the point to
Yeah,
decide to write a book. Because like I think many people are in this moment right now when they feel like something is telling them, write a book, write a book. So with me, it was like this. Years and years ago, when I was going to all different psychics in my life for the readings, there was one theme that many of them were saying, you have to write this book. There is a book, you're going to write the book and you will be writing books. And I had, in that time, all I care about was how I look, what I drive, and everything is coordinated, you know. So I'm like, what are they talking about? But then it came this point of my life to this day. Then I just felt I was evolving so much, and I was on this spiritual journey that I just said, all right, if I have to write this book, let's start to write this book. And then I asked, the book really speaks about your inner voice of intuition, and it's really your higher self is this particle of God in you that communicates with you. So I said, it has to be about my life. And by that time, I've experienced enough to have some. 1 second, I'm checking with internet because I know it's tricky again. By that time, I had enough experience to write about. Um, so where I was going, how was it to write this? You ask me, the authenticity.
mm,
You know, Catherine, it wasn't easy process. This took me over 6 years. I
right.
had 5 manuscripts that I was keep on correcting, right? I never wrote a book. This was my first book. And yes, I'm not originally from English speaking country, and writing this in English was another thing. So it was a long journey. It was a lot of emotions because when you write about your life and your experiences, you have to revisit the experience and then you feel it again. So the last manuscript was the easiest because I almost like turned on different part of my brain that was just focused on like editing, not feeling. But when you create and you feel, you cry and you go through this. So it wasn't easy, but I made it. I knew I had to finish. I just knew that voice was telling me, you keep going until you finish. So I finished.
It was really amazing. And there's so many people. I mean, I'm going to be very careful not to spoil the journey through the book for those of you that are going to read it. And I would so encourage you reading it. But you can really tell that you've taken on board all those life lessons, because you're being brutally honest about where you're at. So when you know the person you are today and the person at the start of this book are two very, very different people, and you've evolved and you've
Yes.
learned so many different lessons through life and through spiritual teachers, and seeing what worked and seeing what haven't worked. How easy did you find to recall back to those early days when you were in such a different headspace to where you are now?
It was difficult to go back to some traumatic experiences. Oh, look at this, like connecting to your heart.
He is really, honestly, it's the most affectionate cat.
Oh,
Just beautiful. I'm just in love.
oh.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but
No,
everyone.
you know what's interesting? Because I'm not really that cat person. I'm a dog person, like people say. Like I prefer dogs, but I am evolving into cats more,
Yeah,
like opening more to cats. But I had experience when I was a little girl. I think that's why I remember like the cat kind of want to scratch me, and I think that stayed.
yeah,
You asked me how it was to go back to like the childhood and all those things. Catherine, I went through so much, especially in the last stage of creating this book, and I cannot even put into words. There was this family chain of pain that I was breaking. I had this nervous breakdown when I talk about this in my last interview we had together.
yeah,
When I found Odo, my dog, then new home. But when I went back to US and I was still writing this book, and I had like I didn't know where I will live, where I will eat. I was really in a situation like never before in my life. So I was literally sitting down on the suitcase because I had no chair, and I was putting laptop on the bed, and I was using my bed as my desk to continue to write.
yeah,
And that was the hardest time for me because I felt like I have no more family. Now it's different, things has changed. I made peace with my father, but in that time I felt like it's just me and God and my book. And when I was going through this, revisiting again, like when you feel like you lost your family, like that's it, and you go back to these chapters when you are actually still writing about your family, that was the hardest because you are revisiting the same energy again.
yeah.
But yeah, it's not easy to go through, and you know, betrayals and relationships with men, and it's not easy to, yeah.
Wow, I mean, this is what I found really incredible. And there were quite a few places in the book where I was like, you know, I was like, no, don't go back to him. Please just don't go back to him. But many people would have changed the narrative to make themselves come across in a different way. And you just, the whole book is brutally honest, isn't it? It's just incredible. Have you always had that ability to be look at yourself with such an honest pair of eyes, or is it something that's developed?
You know what, now I look back, it's interesting you brought this up. Now when I look back, I think that I kind of implemented two roles into me. One was the way how my mother was reacting and playing a victim, and another role was like how my father was reacting and playing like an oppressor in a way, you know. So I feel now that I was picking up certain type of men that were stimulating either or within me,
Yeah,
like the victimhood, or you know, there's also this, I want to say this is important, I know people will get it. For example, my mother, when I was now with what I know, being older and wiser, when I look at her life, there's a sense when people are very controlling, like they want everything in order, they want things to be placed a certain way, always in the same spot. That represents not always someone is neat and clean, which she was very, but but that represents a very, very deeply rooted fear. Because when you feel that you control the environment, at least you have some control. So you're very afraid of anything that is not matching your idea.
Yeah.
Including how people are talking or acting or behaving with you. And I had that, some of that I took, I think, from her in the early part of my life. Now I don't have it, so like I have less of this. I don't care as much as I used to about perfectionism. There's no such a thing, but it's more loosening up and allowing the energy to flow, you know? I don't know if I'm even answering your question now. It just came to me like I want.
Yes, you absolutely are. And you mentioned a bit earlier on that you've made peace with your father now. That's wonderful.
It's actually after my mother passed away. I have to tell you, he was in such a bad shape. It wasn't perfect marriage, but again, I know their souls came together for the purpose of this lifetime. And I went back to Poland 2 years ago, it was, to help him to come out of the depression, because he was, and again, it wasn't perfect marriage, but nevertheless, if you spend over 50 years with someone, your life is, that person is such a huge part of your life. So now being in his late 80s, it was very hard. So I went back, and again, this was like really difficult for me to go back after like we almost cut the relationship completely. I had to rebuild him emotionally, mentally, and I had to put all these legal things like, you know, when person passes away, the bank, this and that. And mind you, Catherine, this was before all this shenanigans now. Because if that would be the moment, like now, going and taking care of this, it would be absolute nightmare.
Yeah, completely.
So, yeah. I mean, universe, like literally, like perfect time. So we made peace, and it's different now. It's not like, it's never perfect, but it's very different. My soul told me, you have to do it. You have to go, and you have to help, and you have to make peace. And nothing is impossible. Yes, you can make peace with people that were hurting you, because I know that only people who have been hurt before will hurt other people.
Absolutely. And that how relevant is that to everything that's going on in the world at the moment? You know, it is a reality that, you know, we all act out of the consciousness that we've got at that time, don't we? And obviously as we get older and we evolve, our consciousness changes, but at the time we're only capable of acting at the level of our awareness.
Yes, but I think ultimately, when I look back at my family story, there was a long chain of pain. You know, my grandmother was a big influence on my life, and she was born during the time when Poland didn't even exist on the map as a country, so under the Prussia occupation. And she was even forced to speak German. She could not speak Polish at school. They were punishing kids for this.
Wow.
So, you know, there was First War, Catherine, Second World War. Poland is loaded with this, how you say in English, meteorology, like this suffering and pain and, you know, death. And I mean, it's a lot of energy there that needs to be clean. And of course, on the top of it, you have this religious aspect, right, in Poland, very strong, like the Roman Catholic Church. So it's a lot of energies mixed.
Very strong energies, yeah.
And people absorb it, they do.
Yeah, of course, of course. On a lighter note, you were very adventurous from a very early age, weren't you? I mean, some of the journeys, that was one of the other things. I was like, with my mummy hat on, I was like, don't get in the car with them. Don't stay in that apartment. It was, you had me on tenterhooks the whole way through. But you know, from a very early age, you took that break from home, didn't you, and went off and made your own adventures.
Yes. And you know what? Now, when I look back, when I was writing this book, actually, I was like, my guardian angel was watching over me.
Very
For
much.
real. I've been in, I mean, so many situations that could really go wrong. When I look back now, almost, you know, I mean, there's a story in Sweden when people read, there are things people don't really know that they are taking place. Like we didn't know all about this, what was happening, you know, underneath, right, where we are. And now, even when I think about it, like how blessed we were that we never really even like came across any of this in a way, right?
Yeah.
So I was adventurous, and I have to tell you, Catherine, honestly, this is the thing that I missed the most in this last year, because what I've learned throughout my life, that when I travel, I never feel guilty when I spend money, when I go on adventure and I travel, because I know that this is something that is forever going to stay with me. The place, the experience, the journey, the trip. I absolutely love to travel and experience things. And there is a danger in staying in the same environment and doing the same things over and over again, because you are living, but you kind of like replicating the same thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like you almost like you need those, like you have to shake it up, like you have to go somewhere, new place, new people, new things, to not to get so what's the word I want to use, this mundane routine. It's almost like taking away life from you. That's how I feel. So I was adventurous because I felt like I wanted to experience, you know.
Yeah. It's a real journey of, you know, experiences you can see through the book, you growing as a person from. And what I love is that every what might be labeled as negative experience, you know, you can see the lesson in it really clearly, can't you?
Yeah, and you know, another thing, just 1 second, is that inner voice, which my book really speaks about. I even highlight when the voice talks to me.
Yes.
It's a different font, so you can actually see that this is the voice talking when you read it. It's not.
It comes across as very clearly, and I love that in terms of at the key stages, and you know, use also some other interactions you have with some well-known spiritual teachers and things like that. To say, I'm being careful not to give too much away, but where it really clarifies that, you know, there's so much going on for everyone. I think it's so relevant what everyone's going through at the moment, isn't it? It's so relevant to go within. And this message, this consistent message, trusting your intuition, going within, having confidence to be yourself, not who society expects you to be.
Yes, and Catherine, and you know, we agree on this. Now more than ever, nothing that was really hidden can be hidden anymore. Everything will come out, including the truth, not just about the history, the civilizations, the evolution of humanity, but also about any person that is visible on any form of media. And I said this to Mel lately, we were talking about it briefly, but I always say this on my Instagram too, that you just keep living, keep on living, because the truth will come out. If this is the person that is coming from a good place, or this is the person that is still manipulating the reality and creating another form of spell to get the followers, subscribers, business going, whatever it is for them. And I like, at the end of the day, I'm also learning through this YouTube experience for me, or you know, communicating like this, that I see so quickly now people for who they are.
Yes.
I'm not saying I'm perfect by all means, but I remind myself to always listen to this voice when I'm going to contact certain people for connecting, because this is personal space. And I want clean as much as possible energy and healthy exchange. And another thing is, even though this energy might be clean for some time, it might come a time when uh, this is not resonating anymore. When there's
Absolutely.
time, right? Yeah, it's like, thank you. We serve our purpose together, but now it's time. Maybe another being will show up, and
Next stage of the journey, because it's like that lesson. This is so funny we're having this conversation, because you and I've had to reschedule a couple of times because I wasn't very well when we were meant to be doing it. And earlier on today, I spoke to a mutual friend of ours, Michelle Fielding. And we were having one of the things that she was channeling during our session was exactly this, about this discernment, about trusting your own intuition, about the discernment, about who resonates with you, the message, but also about how when you read, even like when we're reading your book, we'll all get different things out of it. The reflections that are quite bad, I'll show it up better later. Look, there we go. But everyone who reads it will resonate, and it will with them in a different way based on what's going on internally for us, and which bits of our shadows certain things raise and triggers and everything. And also that ability which you demonstrate so clearly in the book is when something is no longer resonating with you or serving you, you can step away, and that doesn't mean it won't come back into your life at a later date. It might do, it might not, but listening to yourself about when is that time to make that break. So
and not to, Catherine, not to feel guilty. Not to feel guilty, because it's very easy, like you feel that there is some sort of obligation, or no such a thing. The only obligation you have in your life, in my opinion, is to fulfill your soul's plan. To evolve and to go to be with integrity with your own soul.
No, he's disagreeing with all of you. He's a very, very astute, knows what to do. Yeah, and that is something that I think personally for me, that comes with age, experience, and going through all this, and that's why I love the age I am now, because I can look back and I can laugh at certain things and I can cry. I was quite amazed at your recall though, because I'm not sure I can remember that much of my life. Did you find it difficult to sort of pick which parts to actually put into the book?
No, because I have to tell you that I had a very strong awareness of the spirit working through me. Like something was writing this book with me, some energy. And yes, I know that there were moments when I felt like I actually was asking Hemingway some questions, Ernest Hemingway.
Yeah.
And he was no BS. He was always like straight to the point. And I feel actually my writing has a little bit of his style, in a way that I don't go around too much. I deliver very straightforward. And I don't over describe. So in a way, like I paint a scene without going, pages and pages of description. I actually like throw this image on you and you can see this. That's how I think.
Yes.
But my memory from very young age, I had incredible memory, and I always pay attention to the details. And I think this really helped me, because I was able to, I remember still like the outfits, the smells, the colors. I do have like very cinematographic picture energy remembrance.
Yeah. No, that comes across really clearly. And what about, there's quite a few occasions within the book where there's some people that you could say, let you down quite badly at some stages. How did that feel when you were writing about those and everything? Did it bring up all the own emotions? Was it?
Yeah. But I have to say, actually, Catherine, this last year, this last year when we went into this lockdowns, I feel I am really, let's say the moment when the book was self-published, because that's another thing, actually, I want to talk about this after I finish this sentence now, because it's important about people now choosing which way to go with the books they want to create. Now, this last year, from the moment when book came out and who I am right now, I feel I really have changed a lot, because I really don't care about many things I used to care before. And I don't, or even I let it go easier in a way. Like when I come through disappointments, because I still do, even on this YouTube environment situation, I do come in experiences like they're disappointing sometimes.
Yeah.
But I release it quicker, because I feel that this is the way to go, and you like back on the stream. Don't hold on to disappointment. Don't expect too much, because if it's meant to last, it will last. And if it's not, then thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, no, there's some really, really good life lessons on that. Are you planning a follow-up? I mean, I know you've been writing some other books, haven't you? Some children's books. Do you want to tell us about those?
Oh my gosh, Catherine, can I tell you, I have, well, let me count. I have 4 more books in me.
Yeah.
That are not written yet. And I had them for a few years already. So now it's for children, 5 books for kids illustrated. This will be such a sweet, happy, joyful energy. Like I literally I just had conversation with my illustrator, and I just love even talking about it. It's just fun and joyful. And there is a dog and there's a girl, there's a bird, and they travel. It's just fun. So that is completely different genre. It's for kids.
Yeah.
The 3rd book is a book that actually will be based on my past life. When I had my past life regression, and through meditation, I've experienced this. It will be in middle age in Normandy. I talk about this with you the last time.
In this book, don't you? Yeah.
And the horse connection. So this is the 3rd, and then I have 1 book will be like kind of like a poems. And then I have 2 more books in me. So 4 altogether. And there will be a book that I will write when I'm in my late 70s, 80s. And it will be actually titled 88. So this will be from the moment when the 44 has ended, what happened to my life up to 88. And then I probably live in Provence and I'm painting oil paintings.
Yeah. Oh, it's so exciting, isn't it? I mean, that's what struck me is in terms of, because I'd spoken to you a few times before I read the book, and I was like, God, you're so different now. You're so different. But then aren't we all? Because that's part of growing up, and you hope you are different, because as you go through these different natural stages of your life, you're not meant to be the same person that you were as a teenager when you're in your 40s, sort of thing. You hope you've moved on a bit. And it was fun to see that. It was fun to go through that journey with you. And I
ask you, Catherine, what was your favorite chapter, or like what was the favorite part, or you enjoyed the most?
Oh God, that's a good question. I think the very ending. I think the very ending, because it was again, I've been very careful not to give too much away, but there were times in the book where I sort of felt like your big sister, and I was just like, oh no, I feel really sorry for you. No, don't do that. Don't do this. But I knew that the ending brought it together so beautifully. And I felt it was the start of this next chapter of your life. And also at no stage in the book did you focus on regret at all.
Really?
Yeah. So when you're reading it, yes, you're very honest about the emotions you're feeling at different times. But I kept thinking the whole way through your books. I mean, I'm really sorry to hear about your mother, because one of the questions I was going to ask you, but I didn't know whether to or not because of
You
the
can ask me anything, Catherine. I
was
feel so
about whether
safe.
your parents
I feel so safe with you. Like, I really
your
do.
parents were still alive, because I found it amazing that you could express so honestly. I don't think many people would have the courage, whilst their parents were still alive, to be so honest about what it felt like you growing up and the impact. And I think that says so much about you as a person, because most people would they'll change things to lessen the blow for other people. I mean, there's quite a
Yes.
few people in that
Yes.
book that I'd love to know how they feel, that that the story's about when they read it. But it takes a lot of courage to be that raw.
But again, I think I can only speak from my standpoint, because if you ask my mother or you ask my father, they will perceive the events in their own way,
Yes.
right? But now when I look back, I just truly not even believe or think. I know that my child, as a child, as a little girl, I was like the sponge that was absorbing the emotions from everyone from the family. And
Yeah.
I was brought up in a way like people pleaser. So but then mind you that there are two different sides, and one side wants me to act like this, another side wants me to act like that, and then they fight among each other, and you're like, so how to survive in this environment, right? Like, emotionally, how to cope with this. And I know many people go through
As
this.
a
It's
child as well, that's very
yeah.
tough, isn't it? Because you didn't have any siblings to share that burden with.
No. And I know for me, when I was going through depressions, I had many times in my life when I was going through very severe, pretty much suicidal depressions, that there was anger as an emotion was a big part of my family. And I didn't know then what I know now after years of, experiencing that depression state, that actually people who are depressed can be very angry,
Yeah.
which I never thought before about it. I always thought that they are like hopeless, completely no energy whatsoever. But there is a form of depression that is actually connected with anger.
Mm.
And for me, that, actually anger is emotion, is energy in motion. There is a movement to it, right?
Yeah.
But it's very self-destructing, self-destruction.
Yeah, no, it is. And I think it's I really genuinely, I'm not just saying it, as you know, I'm very open and honest. I really think it's a really important book for everyone to read, because it will take you through a lot of personal emotions yourself as you go through these various stages with you. And it really is a life's journey and a story of growing up, isn't it? Of really becoming the woman that you are now. And as you say, becoming self. You
Yes.
can see you evolving into the woman that you are today through that journey. No, it's absolutely wonderful. I'd really encourage everyone to get it. So where can they get your book?
They can get it on Amazon still. I'm still there, although I'm, the second book now, I would like to have different platform directly from me. But it's on Amazon, it's in print, in paperback, and it's an ebook. Barnes and Nobles and Kobo. I don't use the other two too much, so I think the easiest for people is to get it on Amazon. And yeah, Catherine, one more thing I want to tell you. There are several people mentioned in this book. Actually, Oprah Winfrey is mentioned in this book.
Yes, that's what I meant to ask you about. Yeah.
Okay. Because if you will, because I actually want to talk about this. It's important. I didn't feel comfortable when I started to get to know certain things last year. I had this moment like, oh my gosh, shall I remove certain chapters or not, because my perception about certain individuals that I came across in my life has changed drastically. But you know what I think, Catherine? I decided to keep it because I felt that was my life then, that was my story then, that's what I've experienced. And now I wouldn't say the way I said it then, but that chapter is over.
And you know, I think everyone's going to resonate with that, because I don't think, depending what stage of, and I hate the word awake, but I can't think of what else to say, but to what stage of awareness people are about people that they either idolized or looked up to or grew. I mean, there's certain people that on spiritual teaching side of things that I've really resonated with in the past. And now I've found out more about them, I'm a bit horrified. But as you say, that was the stage we were at then, and we wouldn't resonate with them now because we're at a different stage of awareness, and we can't beat ourselves up for that's how we learn. We learn as we go along, and you know, it's all perfect at the time we are. And I don't think there's one person on this planet that isn't going to have a nasty shock as the truth starts to come out over the next, you know, months, year or years, where they're not going to feel that really in the pit of their stomach. Oh my God, this is who I've been looking up to, following, idolizing, whatever word you want, you know, holding up. You know, there's people that I know stuff about now that I've had on my vision boards.
Yes, exactly. Totally.
To think.
And those vision boards, how many of those I created too? So we can totally relate to one another now, because there was a certain way of like, that was a symbol for something, right?
Yes.
And now you know that symbol was an illusion. Pretty much it was a lie in order to manipulate millions and millions of other people. And again, we all come back to the same point right now. Listen to yourself, listen to your intuition. Don't put anyone on the pedestal. And the same is with me. And don't feel guilty if someone who you used to appreciate, you don't see the value there anymore, because that value was serving in some time. And now you already extended that, maybe you are ahead, maybe, okay, it's your journey. So don't go back there and don't try to fix it, because if it's meant to be, it will catch up with you. If it's not meant to be, it will not.
And also, you know, just something came to me whilst you were speaking there, that of course, just as we're not the same people that we were 10 years ago, nor these others.
No.
And we don't know at what stage things changed in their lives as well, because, and what caused that and everything. And, you know, for me, this is a whole lesson about judgment, because I will hold my hands up. There are times when I read your book, it brought up a lot of judgment in me. But
okay, like give me example, like what was judgment about the people?
So there was one instant that really stood up. I think you were in Italy.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
someone had let you down, and you needed to get out of a certain situation.
That was scary, right? That was scary.
It was scary, and I could see judgments rising in myself about almost like, well, you know, are you using someone else to get you out of a certain situation?
Okay.
But I also had an awareness that that was my view, my view. And then as I went on, I was like, oh, okay, no, it's not. But there were definite cases like that where it raised issues in myself, and everyone who reads it will have different, you know, things that get raised for them based on their experiences and what memories it sort of stirs up in you as an individual. And luckily I've done enough sort of work on myself, and I'm still continuing to look at it and sort of say, okay, you know, that's me, you know, that's my stuff, not your stuff, sort of thing.
But you know what's interesting, you said this, because now when I go back to that story, I know that those two people who really saved me in that moment, that was the divine help.
Yeah.
It was divine help, and that I was able to hear the voice that guided me to certain action to take. Because yeah, it actually can be perceived like, oh, I'm sorry for this, it's like a noise outside now. I think they are trimming something. Can you hear it?
It's yeah, it's gone now. That's okay. Yeah.
Okay. No, I think that's actually a very good point. But you know, I don't think they felt used, and I don't really think I was using them. I think it was a sole agreement in
Yeah.
certain time. Wow.
No, so
I miss Italy, Catherine. Can I tell you now? I feel like I want to go to Italy.
yeah, no, oh, I love Italy. I love Italy. I'm sure I'm meant to live there at some stage. You know, I really do love Italy. I love the food. I love the wine. I like the people. I like the passion. I like the architecture. So no, this is what I liked is that you know a good book when it raises a lot in you and it raises questions, emotions, self-reflection, and that did all of that. You know, it really did all of.
Thank you, Catherine. I appreciate that you bought it, first of all. I really appreciate.
No,
And
my
that you
pleasure.
read it and that you even asking me questions about it, because this is like my baby. You know, I don't have children, but this book feels like my child in a way.
Absolutely. I can really see that. I really can. So you've got your new children's books coming out soon. Have you got any idea when they're going to be out?
I think for sure June. I would say
Wow.
maybe before the end of the May. The first one, it will be 5 books. It's a series. So the first one will be ready, I think, in May. But I already designed in my mind bunch of products for children that will be connected with this book, so the kids can play with this, they can, you know, have their toys, and I feel those characters will be like a big part of their childhood, because they really have a good vibe and good energy. So yeah, there is so much more coming, and I'm so happy that I was able to connect with you and that we can stay together on this journey for some time at least.
Yeah,
So
you've been helping me with because I've been meaning to start writing my book for so long, and I've got too many ideas. You know, there's should I start with this one or this? And we had a brief discussion before, and it's interesting. You really clarified, you know, what my intuition was telling me about where to start, and also give me some inspiration just to start, because I'm very much like if the type of person that if I don't necessarily understand the whole
yeah.
process, it makes me nervous. And you know, part
Well,
of.
but here, you know, I tell you from my experience too, here is the catch. And I was very much the same way. And I apologize for this noise outside. It's not planned, it's unexpected, but this is life, you know, it goes on. So anyway, I was exactly like this. I think what terrified, this is like, how they say this? Analyzing, it's like paralyzing.
Yeah,
Like you are trying to,
paralysis by analysis.
exactly.
Yeah,
I think truly what it is, one step at the time. Of course, there are certain things you want to know before you start the journey, but trust me, it's like you know, Catherine, like with YouTube, like with everything, we learn as we go. And what paralyzes people is like, oh my gosh, how, and they have this huge idea. I had the same with my YouTube channel. I was like, I want drones to be flying over Amalfi Coast and like show the limoncello on the table, you know. And then I just started interviewing like Charlie with me, and I'm like,
yeah,
this works. Okay, how to post the video, how to do the edit, how to close the comment section, okay, because it was too much for some time. So I'm learning all of these things. Like, I don't even know. You had like your intro. I didn't even have my intro. It's the same with when you are deciding to write a book and publish the book. First, you have to create the book.
yeah,
You have to tell the story. You have to tell the story. And even when you start the story, Catherine, with your book, when you finish this, the story might change as well. You will go back and you will change parts of the book. So book has its own life. And when it's ready, it will tell you it's ready. And then you will have the next step. You will have an editor, and then you will decide, do I want to self-publish? Before we finish this talk, I really want to talk about it. For the longest time, for almost 6 years of writing this book, I was envisioning this vision boards, okay? Oprah Winfrey style. I will be like New York Times bestseller list. Like I will be sitting behind this desk and there's like a line, you know, Harry Potter story, yeah? And I'm like, oh, thank you, signing everything. I wanted to like be in every Barnes and Nobles. The more I was progressing, the more to the end I was coming. And I'm like, this makes no sense, because I didn't know that it's very hard to get the agent, literally agent. Then it takes forever for them to sell your book to the publisher because it's all corrupted people. It's all corrupted people. Let's face it. Then you make a fraction of the money on this book. So I'm thinking, and I cannot decide what is the cover. I cannot decide what is the title. Pretty much they decide for me. So I'm like, why would I do this? Why? So I decided to self-publish because I know what cover I want, I know what title I want, and Amazon takes a big portion of the money, but still it's more in comparison to traditional publishing. Like this whole New York Times, when you talk to Mel, this whole New York Times is one big disaster.
Absolutely. And you know, again, aren't we realizing that more than anything over the last year, when all this is really starting to come out of the woodwork, that we wouldn't have realized a few years ago? So, you know, there's been a lot of good coming out for that. Well, I think it's fantastic. And I think you're really inspirational. And as you said, we were chatting about, you know, the YouTube and things that I'm about to learn the hard way, because I've got to restart from scratch because they've scrapped my whole YouTube channel. So onwards and upwards, it will just be a good excuse to learn another new skill and start it again from where I am now.
So let me predict here, because now what you're going to create, it will be so wonderful. It will have a new energy and it will flow. And when YouTube transforms, which it will, you will find yourself in such a solid position. Now it's a different, because there is this moment when we create, like our talk now, we don't have to watch our words, we can express ourselves. But when you are having conversations and you are tiptoeing all the time, you are using like a code words, you go around, it's not as fluid, it's not so real, and that's this discord in energy. I know that your new channel will be incredible and you will keep on going and you will educate people about so many things. And I cannot wait, like literally, to come to UK and like see your place and the nature there. I think it's amazing. You can share this with people, you know? I think we all have things to share. And sometimes people think, oh, I'm not important enough. I'm not this, I'm not that. BS, okay? Everyone has a story to tell. And Hemingway even said, which by the way, I love him. He said, every man's story, if truly told, it's a novel.
It's so true. That is so, so true, isn't it?
Yeah, and then actually they were after him. That's another story. The 3 letters.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, yeah, you see.
I heard you talk about that in one of your interviews, and it was.
I couldn't believe, like, I mean, the whole thing. So I have this thing as far as like the next projects, because I have strong connection with Hemingway, spirit. Shakespeare is there too, like flying over. Lately, Diana is like trying to tell me things. So I feel like I want to investigate things.
Yeah.
And then there is, Catherine, I have to tell you this, there is this like a holy road of Archangel Michael throughout the Europe. Like you go through Ireland and you go through UK.
Yeah.
I want to do this, like when I will learn, because again, now you see, the same is for me. I want to create travel videos. I have to learn how to do this, how to make how to record, how to put together the music, all of this.
I know.
So I want to do things like this.
It's our version of art, and you know, for me, it's just, I love learning. There's never, you know, never a day when I'm not learning at something, and it's what I'm really passionate about. And then I love sharing that. I just absolutely love sharing it. And if it resonates with people, great. And if it doesn't, that's equally fine, you know. But I think it's exactly it. Everyone has got so much to share, and we can all learn from each other and from ourselves, and look back and have a good old giggle about you know, the experiences we've had on the way, because it's so important not to take ourselves too seriously and realize that, you know, what seems really important at the time, when you look back, you know, it puts it all into perspective, doesn't it?
But Catherine, I have to tell you before I forget, I've noticed something very cool about you. You are very good how to say this? When you talk to Charlie, especially lately, you are specifically asking a question. And if the question is not answered, you go back.
Yes.
No, and I think it's a gift. And I think you have a gift in being very direct with a question in a respectful way, but you're not giving up until you get some kind of specific answer. And I think it's very important.
It's really true. I mean, that's why I started it in the first place, because I was listening to all these people and it never occurred to me I'd be able to speak to them. It didn't occur to me that they'd speak to me. And that's one of the things I liked about Charlie. He's happy to speak to anyone. But I started because I was thinking there's all these questions I've got that no one's asking. And I think they're really important because when I'm speaking to my friends, we all want to know, you know. But yeah, it is quite funny. I don't let it go. Sort of.
No, I like this because you are with Rachel and you're like, okay, so what do you think? And then you go back again because many people will drop it and you don't drop it. And I like it because I know it's good because you ask a question and you stay on the question until you have some form of the answer.
Yes, brilliant. Oh, thank you. That's really kind.
And don't give up. No, keep going.
I will, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time tonight. That's absolutely lovely. I'm going to put, obviously, both of us will be putting this up and we'll put all the links to where you can find Ania, where you can purchase a book, and please do go support.
Thank you so much,
because I know you'll really love it.
And to those who will purchase in UK, I send you all my love and I support you guys. I love UK, as I said before, and Scotland and all those parts. So thank you guys. Seriously, thank you for even like considering, you know, because it's my life, it's my story. So maybe it will inspire someone.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, and we'll speak soon.
We will.